boy. Time for convening having arrived. The Senate will come to order. Would like to first recognize, bring the Senate's attention to a colleague of ours, former state senator from Habersham County, John Foster, who's present with us today. Always great to have the senator with us. Recognize Senator from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator, for your works on the journal. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? A reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 412 by Senator Miller, the 40th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section.
Education.
Senate Bill 413 by Senator Jackson, the 24th, bill to be entitled an act to provide that future elections for the office of judge.
State and local government operations.
Senate Bill 414 by Senators Unterman of the 45th and others, bill to be entitled an act to.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 415 by Senators Jeffries of the 17th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section.
Natural Resources.
Senate Bill 416 by Senators Carter, the 1st and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 64, Title 33.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 417 by Senators Carter, the 1st and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 26.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 418 by Senators Oracle, the 36th and others, bill to be entitled an act.
Insurance and Labor.
Senate Bill 419 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others.
Higher Ed.
Senate Bill 420 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others, bill to be entitled an act.
Higher Ed.
Senate Bill 421 by Senators Loudermilk of the 52nd and others, bill to be entitled an act.
Regulated Industries.
Senate Bill 422 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others, bill to be entitled an act. Senate Bill 423 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others.
Higher Ed.
Senate Bill 424 by Senators Heath of the 31st and others, bill to be entitled an act.
Government Oversight.
Senate Bill 425 by Senator McCune of the 29th, bill to be entitled an act.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 426 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd and others, bill to be entitled an act.
Education Committee.
Senate Bill 427 by Senators Tollison of the 20th and others.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 428 by Senators Tollison of the 20th and others.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 429 by Senators Tollison of the 20th and others.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 420 by Senator Bethel of the 54th, bill to be entitled an act to amend an act.
Reapportionment.
Senate Resolution 842 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others.
Higher Education.
Senate Resolution 843 by Senator Mullers of the 53rd.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 845 by Senator Mullers of the 53rd and others.
Rules Committee.
Senate Resolution 848 by Senators Tollison of the 20th and others.
Natural Resources.
Senate Resolution 853 by Senator Miller of the 40th and others.
Education.
Senate Resolution 858 by Senator Grant of the 25th and others. Resolution urging the
Public Safety.
Through the order, Mr. President.
First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions.
House Bill 409 by Representative Maddox of the 172nd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 50 of Title 43 of the OCGA relating to licensing and restriction of veterinarians and veterinary technicians, so as to revise certain provisions so as to the application for a license to practice veterinary medicine, to provide for a waiver under certain circumstances.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 707 by Representative Morgan of the 39th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 21-2-417 of the OCGA relating to presentation of identification to poll workers, so as to provide that an elector may present a valid student identification card containing a photograph of the elector and issued by an eligible post-secondary institution in this state as proof of intent identity.
Ethics.
House Bill 838 by Representative Maxwell of the 17th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissions of Paulding County, approved April 17, 1975, so as to revise the districts for the election of members of the board.
Slow go.
House Bill 848 by Representatives Dixon of the 6th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend an act shortening the terms of office and providing for the election.
Slow go.
House Bill 876 by Representative Epps of the 140th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating a Board of Education of Wilkinson County, approved April 3, 1972, so as to change the description of the districts from which members of such boards are elected, to define certain terms, to provide for legislative intent, to provide for the submission of this act.
Go.
House Bill 882 by Representative Shaw of the 176th, bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the new Board of Education of Lanier County, approved March 13, 1970.
Slow go.
House Bill 883 by Representative Shaw of the 176th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissions for
Slow
Lanier.
go.
House Bill 885 by Representative Prude of the 144th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the election. House Bill 902 by Representatives Green of the 149th and others, bill to be entitled.
Slow go.
House Bill 903 by Representative Green of the 149th and others.
Slow go.
House Bill 911 by Representatives Chenell of the.
Go.
Through the order, Mr. President.
Secretary read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Education and Youth Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Resolution 480 passed by substitution. Senate Resolution 590 passed by substitution. Senate Resolution 646 do pass. House Bill 713 passed by substitution. Respectfully submitted, Senator Miller, the 40th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Finance Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 28 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 395 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Heath of the 31st District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Insurance and Labor Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 385 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Goggins of the 7th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Regulated Industries and Utilities Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 321 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Schaefer, the 48th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate State and Institutions and Property Committee has had under consideration the following legislation as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 765 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Jeffries of the 17th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate State and Local Governmental Operations Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 303 do pass. Senate Bill 304 do pass. Senate Bill 394 do pass. House Bill 712 do pass. House Bill 726 do pass. House Bill 727 do pass. House Bill 784 do pass. House Bill 803 do pass. House Bill 812 do pass. House Bill 813 do pass. Senate Bill 397 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Miller of the 49th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Transportation Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 239 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Millis of the 53rd District Chairman. Through the order, Mr. President.
Second readers.
Senate Bill 316 by Senator Bethel, the 54th, and others. Civil practice increase the tolling period for limitations for tort actions while criminal prosecution is pending. Senate Bill 324 by Senator Mills of the 53rd and others. Veterinary medicine clarifies certain definition. Senate Bill 338 by Senator Goggins of the 7th and others. Georgia Volunteers in Dentistry and Dental Hygiene Act provide for special licenses for dentists and dental hygienists licensed in other jurisdictions. Senate Bill 350 by Senator Balfour the 9th and others. Crimes and offenses, disposition of firearms used in burglaries or armed robberies. Senate Bill 360 by Senator Wilkinson of the 50th and others. Fish and fishing include certain tilapia species as domestic fish, prohibit the use, sale of tilapia as live bait. Senate Bill 361 by Senator Miller of the 49th and others. Healthcare facilities, expand provisions, nationally recognized healthcare accreditation body. Senate Bill 362 by Senator Williams of the 19th and others. Submerged cultural resources, permits, authorization to contact for investigation, survey, change certain provisions. Senate Bill 367 by Senator Bullock of the 11th and others. Agriculture Commissioner, authorized to require persons incurring civil penalties to obtain a surety bond. Senate Bill 369 by Senator Carter the 1st and others. Natural resources, provide for an extension of the automatic repeal of Code Section 1259. Senate Bill 370 by Senator Carter the 1st and others. Controlled substances, Schedule 1 and 5 controlled substances, dangerous drug provisions. Senate Bill 383 by Senator Hamrick of the 30th and others. Georgia International Commercial Arbitration Code, repeal Part 2 relating to international arbitration. Senate Bill 390 by Senator Bullock of the 11th. Agriculture, provide immunity from civil liability for the agency designated to provide for seed certification. Through the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 13th to recognize some very special guests in the gallery. Please give the senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Senate, a little bit early, but they got to start cooking in a few minutes. Today is Crisp County Fish Fry, and we're glad to have a delegation from Crisp County and Cordele here. Monica Simmons, who is president of the Chamber of Commerce, Eli Tinsley, Mr. and Mrs. Jamie Fernandez, Wallace Mathis, Mr. and Ms. Denham, And let's give them a warm welcome, and we'll see you tonight at the fish fry.
There's one of those a little suspect up there in the corner. Chair recognizes Senator from the 50th. Recognize some special guests in the gallery.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're real fortunate to have a delegation from Habersham County here with us this morning. Senator Foster has already been recognized. He served as chairman of the Senate Education Committee for many years. They gave me some talking points, but I know this about Habersham County. Any of you that travel up in northeast Georgia, if you get any closer to heaven than Habersham County, you start hearing harps and bells, right? Okay. Habersham County does have 7 cities, 5 museums, 2 rivers, 2 festivals, Tallulah Gorge, and also I'd like to point out to you that this honey that you have on your desk today was provided by Carl and Virginia Webb, and 2 different times it has won international competition in Europe and been selected the best honey in the world. So let's welcome our guests from Habersham County today.
Please stand up and let us recognize you. Thank you.
Stand up.
Thank y'all very much. Okay. All right. Good to have you with us. Thank you. Thank you. It's now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Motions to excuse. Senator from the 56th will be recognized.
I ask unanimous consent for the senator from the 40th to be excused for business outside the Capitol.
40th, without objection, senator will be excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 8th for business outside the chamber.
8th, without objection, the senator from the 8th will be excused. Senator from the 37th will be recognized.
Mr. President, I request the excusing of the senator from the 43rd on business outside of the Capitol.
43rd, without objection, senator will be excused. Are there any other motions to excuse? Senators, please signify your presence by voting the A switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for our morning devotion. Would ask the senators, please take your seats. This is our morning devotion. Senators, please take your seats as we prepare for our morning devotion. Doorkeepers, please secure the chamber at this time. It is now my pleasure to call upon the distinguished senator from the 36th District for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you please stand for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag pledge. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Thank you. It's such a pleasure today to introduce to you our chaplain of the day, Dr. Michael Neely Harris. Dr. Harris pastors Wheat Street Baptist Church, one of the iconic downtown African-American churches. The church is located in the historic Sweet Auburn district, just a stone's throw from downtown and from the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King. And over those 143 years has played a unique and critical role in not only that area of our city, but actually statewide. It is one of the nation's oldest African-American churches, and it was created just after the Civil War, 1869. Has massive outreach programs, has been very involved in socioeconomic development in the area, built the Wheat Street Towers, a 14-story home for our senior citizens. Dr. Harris was educated at another venerable institution of Georgia, and that is Morehouse College, and his Master of Divinity degree was earned at the Eastern Baptist Theological Seminary. Across the nation, Wheat Street Baptist was known for years as the church pastored by the Venerable Dr. Williams Holmes Borders, the father of our former City Council President, Lisa Borders. There were big shoes to fill when when the church sought a new pastor. Dr. Harris has filled those shoes, and I'm so pleased to bring him to you today, a man of God, a leader in the community, a leader in his church, a man for all time. Please help join me in welcoming Reverend Michael Neely Harris from Wheat Street Baptist Church, Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Harris.
Thank you very much, Senator O'Rourke. Mr. President, to all of the members of this august body, to visiting friends, the 17th book of the Bible tells of a woman who saved a nation. Hadassah was her Hebrew name, but we know her by her Persian name of Esther. Through a series of events, this Jewish lass became the wife of the Persian king Ahasuerus, also known as Xerxes, and the queen of the Persian Empire that extended at that time from India to Ethiopia. Esther had a cousin, something of a surrogate father, by the name of Mordecai. The record reveals that Mordecai saved the king's life and was subsequently appointed to a position of high honor. Now, at that time in Persia was a kind of prime minister named Haman, before whom others bowed in homage. But for religious reasons, Mordecai refused to bow and wound up at the top of Haman's hit list. Haman determined that he would not only deal with Mordecai, but would destroy every Jew in the empire as well. He deceived the king, put his plan into action by drafting a death decree, and placed the king's seal on it. Sorrow, sadness, sackcloth, and ashes became the order of the day. Esther was told of what was happening and sent word to Mordecai that she wanted to see him. Whereupon Mordecai said essentially, "My coming to see you will not be of any help. Rather, you've got to go see the king on our behalf." This Esther was reluctant to do because going unsummoned before the king could cost a person his or her life, including the queen. Therefore, she responded essentially, "To go to the king is too perilous. I cannot do that." Mordecai persisted by reminding Esther of her own heritage and ultimately said, "Who knows? whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther may have been in the big house, but Mordecai wanted her to understand that she was still a part of the people, and her being queen was not accidental or political. It was providential, for God had made it possible. Positions of responsibility, whether in the big house, the state house, the White House, Morehouse, my alma mater, or any other such house, are means by which God positions people to be of service to humanity. And I believe that Mordecai would remind us all of two things. First, we are where we are because of God's plan and purpose for our lives. And He wants us to be blessings and not burdens to humanity as we serve this present age. Secondly, when we get where we're going, socially, politically, economically, and in every way, we must not forget who we really are or the less fortunate we may have left behind. Jesus underscored this in saying, "As you have done it unto one of the least of these, you have done it unto me." And that's the word for men, women, boys, girls, Democrats, Republicans, independents, liberals, conservatives, yea, everybody, everywhere. We are all interwoven in the fabric of humanity, whether we are haves or have-nots, 1%ers or 99%ers. In the words of John Donne, any man or woman's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind. Now, if somebody were to ask me, how can one achieve this attitude or spirit of truly embracing humanity, I would say that it takes three things that were requested of the Wizard of Oz, which some of you might remember. The Scarecrow wanted a brain. The Tin Man wanted a heart. The Cowardly Lion wanted courage. A brain for wisdom, a heart for compassion, and courage to do what's right are good and necessary things to have, whether one enacts legislation under the gold dome of the Georgia State Capitol or functions elsewhere in the world. During this Black History Month, which we at Wheat Street began observing with the Martin Luther King holiday in January, I thank God that the brains, the hearts, and the courage of people of color, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and others help to build, protect, provide greatness for, and all manner of beauty to America the beautiful. This is our country. This is our home. And Dorothy, who journeyed to Oz, would remind us that home is a special place. Mordecai might look down on us today and point out that from Rome in the north to Valdosta in the south to Augusta and Savannah in the east to Columbus in the west, we're all a part of Georgia, and all Georgians should be respected equally and treated fairly. Georgia is home to all of us here, and as Dorothy said, there's no place like home. Let us stand. Eternal God, our Father, we pray for these legislators, that they will have the brains, the hearts, and the courage to do right by all of Georgia, and to serve as you would have them to serve. Strengthen them, direct them, be with them, we pray, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I would like to present the Doctor of the Day. In order to do that, I would call upon the very distinguished Regulated Industries Chairman, the Senator from the 48th.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, our Doctor of the Day practices gastroenterology in Lawrenceville. He is board certified in gastroenterology and internal medicine and as a clinical associate professor of medicine at the Emory University School of Medicine. He's a fellow of the American College of Gastroenterology, the American College of Physicians, the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada, and the Royal College of Physicians of London, England. Our Doctor of the Day was named Person of the Year 2011 by the largest American Tamils Association in the country and was recently honored for his service by the Indian Council General for Atlanta. Our Doctor of the Day has won many distinguished awards from national and international scientific organizations. He's published several clinical and basic science research articles in peer-reviewed journals. He's a past president and currently serves on the board of directors of the Georgia Gastroenterological Society and Endoscopic Society. Our Doctor of the Day is a peer reviewer for the Georgia Composite State Board of Medical Examiners. He serves on the board of directors for the Fight Colorectal Cancer, Inc., a national nonprofit patient advocacy organization which supports colon cancer patients. He also serves on the board of directors of Third Eye Dancers, a nonprofit in Georgia that helps raise funds for charity. Please join me in welcoming our very distinguished Doctor of the Day, Dr. Indran Krishnan.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was asked to say a few words in front of you. Well, my job is gastroenterology, and I stand behind the people most of the time. But I'll try my best. I was here last special session, and I enjoyed working with you all, chatting with the senators and taking care of some of them. Really enjoyed, so I'm here back again. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the senators here who are working hard towards the betterment of Georgia, and not just on behalf of physicians, but also on behalf of the Georgian public. We thank you for your hard work. We really appreciate. You're going to have some heartburn, indigestion problem as the debate goes on. Please come and see me. I'm happy to take care of you at any time, and I'll be there the whole day. And once again, thank you so much for all your hard work. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Excellent, excellent. I'd like to ask the Senate to join me in welcoming a great friend of mine, Frank Pinson, who's the CEO of the Floyd College and Career Academy, doing a great job along with many of the friends in Floyd County. Let's give him a round of applause. Are there any unanimous consents? Senator from the 39th. 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 Any unanimous consents?
I move unanimous consent to move the points of personal privilege to the next order of business, Mr. President.
Moving the points of personal privilege up. Is there objection? Without objection, points of personal privileges will be moved, which is the next order of business. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes Senator from 39th. Please give Senator your attention.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, one issue that has taken up a great deal of time in the legislature, although not necessarily over on this side of the Capitol, has been the charter school issue. The charter school constitutional amendment 1162 is over on the House side. I hope it stays over on the House side. But we have had a lot of visitors over here in the Senate advocating one way or the other on that bill in anticipation of it coming over to the Senate. So I don't think it is too early to make public comment by virtue of a point of personal privilege on that issue. There are a couple things going on. One, the piece of legislation 1162 does, House Bill 881 did two things in the 2007-2008 legislative session. One, it allowed the state to authorize local public charter schools. And two, it allowed the state to determine how local money would be used for those local public charter schools. Last year, as we all know now, the Georgia Supreme Court invalidated House Bill 881. It invalidated the use of state authorizers. It invalidated local money being taken from local schools through the back door by the state. And there's a great deal of debate going on the House side. The constitutional amendment embodied in House Bill 1162 failed last week, and there's some debate and discussion about it being up for another vote this week. But I would submit to you that if you take away local control from public charter schools, if you take away local schools being able to determine what schools will or will not exist in their local districts, I would submit if you take away a local school system's ability to allocate its own money in the way that it sees fit, you are not talking about public schools anymore. What you are talking about is a path toward voucher schools. I would submit to you that if 1162 passes, that if House Bill 1162 passes this legislature and is signed by the governor, then we are creating, in effect, private schools. Now, there are other issues that are going on with this piece of legislation that hopefully will be illuminated as the 1162 moves or does not move forward. But I would hope that we, as legislators, would put our actions where our mouths are when it comes to our belief in local control. If we really believe in local control, we cannot abandon it. We cannot abandon it with House Bill 1162. We cannot abandon it allowing the state to determine who authorizes local public schools. I was in a town hall meeting this past year in my district, and some charter school folk came to the meeting, a town hall meeting, and they were very persuasive. But then I asked them, and I asked the other people assembled there, who do you want controlling your public schools? The school board members that you elect, that you know, that you see on a regular basis, or do you want the governor and the state legislature determining what public schools you have in your district? Even the charter school folks said amen to that. I hope we would say amen to that by our actions and by our votes. Thank you, Mr. President. I retire.
Any other senator wishing to rise on a point of personal privilege? Secretary will read we have some very special guests we would like to recognize at this time, and we will recognize them down front, which is a little different. So we have 3 resolutions we would like to. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 809 by Senators James the 35th and others. Resolution recognized February 15th, 2012 as Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day at the Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas transverse myelitis, a disease with approximately 1,400 new cases diagnosed in the United States each year, is not widely recognized by the general public as a significant serious spinal cord condition. Whereas transverse myelitis is a devastating condition affecting the neurological system, causing the spinal cord to become inflamed and can occur in a single condition or in the presence of another illness. Whereas increased awareness of transverse myelitis will help accomplish improvements in diagnosis and further scientific research, and is abundantly fitting and appropriate to recognize Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body encourage citizens to educate themselves and become aware of the needs and issues facing transverse myelitis patients, and recognize February 15th, 2012 as Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day at the Capitol. Senate Resolution 808 by Senator James the 35th and others. Resolution commending the Transverse Myelitis Association and recognizing February 15th, 2012 as Health Awareness Day at the Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas a disease known as transverse myelitis, which affects more than 1,250 Americans, is not widely recognized by the medical profession or the general public as being a significant serious spinal cord condition. Whereas symptoms which can be physically debilitating include back pain, numbness of the lower extremities, and headache. And as the condition progresses, the eventual outcome is paralysis, sensory loss, and bowel and bladder dysfunction. Whereas the Transverse Myelitis Association, TMA, a non-for-profit organization, has seen an increase from 180 members in 1997 to over 1,250 in 1998, and the numbers are rapidly increasing. Whereas recovering from transverse myelitis can also be difficult, only 1/3 of patients make a full recovery, and treatment may take months with no guarantee of improvement. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the Transverse Myelitis Association for its efforts and dedication to combating transverse myelitis, encourage citizens to educate themselves and others on the issue of transverse myelitis patients, and recognize February 15th, 2012 as Health Awareness Day at the Capitol. Senate Resolution 805 by Senators James the 35th and others. Resolution recognizing and commending Corey Francis and for other purposes. Whereas Corey Francis originated from Rayford, North Carolina, spent his adolescence in Durham, North Carolina, where he developed a love of football and a passion to help others less fortunate. Whereas Mr. Francis played in the NFL for the Baltimore Ravens as he interacted with youth in the classroom and on the field who were in need of mental health services. Whereas determined to make more of a monumental change in his community, Mr. Francis laid the foundation for community outreach for Youth and Family Services Incorporated in 2007. Whereas Mr. Francis created a Center for Community Development to further assist in providing more avenues to help citizens of local communities to improve the quality of their immediate surroundings through self-empowerment programs in 2010. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize Corey Francis and commend him for his effective, efficient, unselfish, and dedicated contributions to community outreach for youth and families.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. It's my honor now to call upon the distinguished senator from the 35th to recognize these very special Georgians and also pay tribute and highlight the diseases that are very, very rare. Senator from the 35th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, today we have Health Care Awareness Day at the Capitol, and I want to know how healthy is Georgia. There are so many illnesses that are lurking around that many of us have never even heard of, and you go to sleep one night and you wake up the next morning and cannot move. You're paralyzed. You have no idea what happened. You had no symptoms. And that is what has happened in the case of the transverse meningitis. I'm probably mispronouncing it, sorry. And we have healthcare professionals from all over the metropolitan area who are here with us today. And quickly, I will let Mr. Al Bartel tell you a little something about Healthcare Awareness Day. And we want to thank Mr. Corey Francis also. He will get a resolution for opening his clinics here. He left football and decided to give back to the community in a very special way. So we appreciate you too, Mr. Francis. Okay.
On behalf of Ms. Yolanda Thompson for the hospice, Ms. Corey Francis, the community outreach, Dr. Nancy J. Williams, holistic healing, Kim Harrison and Jenna Hamilton of transverse meningitis, the Education and Health Resources, Gail Steiger, and the Green Wellness Healthcare Village, Gloria Fleet and Selena Bean. We are absolutely proud to be stakeholders of this awesomely powerful initiative. Today marks the day that we bring forth this healthcare initiative for all of metropolitan Atlanta, the state of Georgia, and the southeast region of the United States of America.
We thank you, and we'll be in room 307 all day long over in the CLOB. Thank you very much, and it's my honor to present this resolution. Ms. Kim is down on the other level, but we will present this to you. Okay, thank you. I think this is hers. Okay. And thank you for making us aware of this disease that's attacking so many people. Please come and find out more about it. And Mr. Corey Francis, it's my honor and privilege to thank you for all that you're doing in the metropolitan Atlanta area and throughout Georgia and other states to help not only make us aware of illness, but help and to pay for people who are ill. So thank you so much. And to Al Bartel and to Dr. Nancy J. Williams, we thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for doing this. If I might, we have another very special guest we would like to recognize. To introduce this guest, we would like to call upon the senator from the 50th.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. It is a real honor to have Kane Thurman with us today. Kane's one of my constituents from Jackson County. I know a lot of you have seen these blue and gold FFA jackets, and there are 500,000 FFA members in every state across the United States, but they only make 6 of these jackets every year that don't have any lettering on the back because they belong to the National FFA officers. Last October in Indianapolis, Kane was selected to serve as National FFA Vice President from Georgia, one of only 13 Georgia FFA members in the history of the organization to serve as a national officer. So at this time, it's a real honor for me to introduce to you for some brief comments, Kane Thurman, National FFA Vice President.
Well, thank you for having me this morning. On behalf of the National FFA organization, it's a pleasure to be here. As Mr. Wilkinson said, I've been traveling a lot lately, and as the Reverend said earlier, there's no place like home, so it is good to be back in my home state of Georgia. In Georgia, we actually have over 31,000 FFA members, which makes us the 3rd largest association in the United States. And before becoming a national officer, I was a member of the association for 7 years. However, without all of your support, there's absolutely no way that I could be a member of the National FFA organization, having not taken classes in agricultural education. So to every senator in the room, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity that you give us each and every year to continue funding agricultural education and all of your support for FFA along the way. Thank you.
Well done, well done, well done. Well said. Thank you very much. Another special group we would like to recognize. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 753 by Senator Unterman, the 45th. Resolution declaring Wednesday, February 15th, 2012 as Lupus Awareness Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas on Wednesday, February 15th, 2012, Senator Renee Unterman and the Georgia chapter of the Lupus Foundation of America will host Lupus Awareness Day at the State Capitol. Whereas lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that attacks the body's cells and tissues, resulting in inflammation, pain, and tissue damage. Whereas the effects of lupus on a family can be devastating in that it is a chronic, lifelong, and life-threatening disease, and despite its prevalence, it remains one of the least recognizable and most misunderstood diseases. Whereas lupus affects primarily young women in their crucial childbearing years, but it can also affect men, children, and women of all ages. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the work of the Lupus Foundation of America and other organizations devoted to finding a cure for lupus, and to supporting the individuals and families whose lives are affected by this autoimmune disease, and declare Wednesday, February 15th, 2012 as Lupus Awareness Day at the State Capitol.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. To speak to the resolution, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 45th District.
Thank you, members of the Senate. It's my honor today, and we have a wonderful group in the audience. If y'all would stand up, please stand up. These folks are joining us at the Capitol today to celebrate Lupus Awareness Day. Unfortunately, lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that affects the body's cells and tissues. Lupus causes extreme inflammation and terrible pain. If you've ever seen anyone in a crisis, and I know as a nurse that I've taken care of many people in the emergency room that are in a crisis, and there is nothing any worse that I could think of. Approximately 55,000 Georgians are affected every year in Georgia. Lupus is a chronic, lifelong, and life-threatening disease. It's a disease that you do not get over. And unfortunately, it also affects young women, especially during their childbearing years. We're delighted to have today the Lupus Awareness Group from the state of Georgia, but we also have with us the Lupus Foundation of America, and we're going to have a few words from them.
Good morning, members of the Senate. How are you? Good. Well, my name is Kim Schofield, and I stand here today to represent one of 55,000 Georgians living with lupus. Lupus is a disease that is unrecognizable because look at me, I look good, don't I? Oh, yeah. Well, up in that gallery are people that look better than I do, but they have lupus. And us as a team have come today to ask you to not only join our cause, and we thank those, and especially Senator Unterman, for standing with us, and all of the other senators that in the past, present, and future will stand with us. So today, I invite each of you to come to the rally at 12 o'clock. We'll be in the South Wing, and we're going to take lupus from a whisper to a shout today at the State Capitol. Thank you.
Kim, good job. I'm going to put you on my pep rally team. I'll tell you what, I like that. We have a privileged resolution calendar that is before you. Are there any objections? Chair hears none, and the privileged resolution calendar is therefore adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? Mr. Secretary, are there any filed objections on any of the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed in the Secretary's office.
Is there objection to agree in the report of the Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations, which is fair, will pass the bill? Chair hears none. The question is on the passage of the local consent calendar. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary, unlock the machine. Senator from the 32nd. I'd like to recognize Senator from the 32nd. Please give him your attention.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just want to pause today and recognize my parents here in the Capitol and the Senate chambers, and want to ask y'all to wish them a warm Senate welcome. Mom and Jim, if y'all would raise your hand, and thank y'all, guys.
On the passage of the local consent calendar, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0, and these bills having received Rex constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Moving on to the general calendar, Secretary reads Senate Bill 246. Senator from the 4th, stand by.
Senate Bill 246 by Senator Hill of the 4th. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 47 of the OCGA relating to the public school employees retirement system and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Retirement recommends that this bill do pass. This is to certify that this bill is a fiscal retirement bill as defined in the Public Retirement System Standard Law.
Chair recognizes the distinguished appropriations chairman, the senator from the 4th. Please give the senator from Reidsville your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I bring you Senate Bill 246. It's a two-page bill, but it does two things, essentially, two main things. It raises the amount that members of the public school employees retirement system pay in to the retirement fund for those who are hired after July the 1st, 2012. Raises that amount monthly from $4 to $10. Secondly, it authorizes, if and when funds are available, for the legislature to slightly increase the amount that members earn in retirement benefits from the fund from the present $14.75 to a ceiling of $16 per month per year of service. As the fiscal note points out, this is actually a positive cash flow or revenue flow from the standpoint of the money coming in, because it adds about approximately $100,000 a year to the retirement plan. The public school employees fund group actually includes mostly school bus drivers, food service personnel, and some maintenance and other school employees who are not covered by the teachers' retirement systems. It's a very low cost and low payout retirement system. It's created in 1970 to serve school employees like school bus drivers and lunchroom personnel who are at the lower end of the pay scale and are paid for less than a full year. But nevertheless, they're an important and vital part of the school operation. In fact, some of you may have seen the school bus burning in the video last week up in North Carolina, which completely burned up right there in full view of a video. And the school bus driver, a lady, saved the 6 children on that bus and got them out before the bus completely burned up. So for that morning, at least, that school bus driver was pretty important to the parents of those children. So for every new school we build, we certainly go out and hire new teachers, but we also hire support personnel like these folks. And this small retirement is a pretty important thing to them. That fund has assets, by the way, of some $737 million. There are 39,000 active members and some 14,600 retirees. It's a fairly low number of retirees every year. 983 people retired from that fund last year. This retirement system is the smallest of the big three retirement systems the state funds, the other two being, of course, ERS and TRS. And when you multiply out the calculation, you can understand why this is such a small retirement system. A public school employee with 30 years of service qualifies today for a pension of 30 times $14.75 or $442.50. And that's the maximum a 30-year school employee would receive. So it's a very low benefit program. The average benefit check, though, is not $440 or so. The average benefit check is only $307, and that's based on about 15 years of service. Additionally, different from the other retirement systems that have retirement ages of 60, age 60, you have to be 65 to retire from this retirement system, and of course that saves funds as well. This bill, the retirement that it allows for, the raise in the amount per month that it allows for from $15 to $16 would not apply to any current retirees, but only those who are serving, who retire at the time that the retirement goes into effect, the increase goes into effect. And as again, it would only be increased if there are funds to do so, and the legislature would make that decision. According to the rules of the legislature, no increase, as some of you may know, even authorized as this legislation does, can be implemented until the appropriation is actually put in the state budget as well. So I would urge your adoption of this bill. It's a bill that helps a fairly low wage employees, but yet they're very important in our school system. It's a low payout, and it has, I think, all the safeguards that we need for a good retirement system. So, Mr. President, I would be happy to answer questions. If not, I would urge your adoption of Senate Bill 246.
There are no questions, Senator.
Thank you very much. Urge your
Does
adoption.
any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreeing to report of committee which fail to pass the bill? Chair hears none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 17th.
To the foot of the calendar.
Foot of the calendar is the objection. Without objection, SB 269 will be placed at the foot of the calendar. Secretary will read Senate Bill 286.
Senate Bill 286 by Senator Heath of the 31st and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 47.2.292 of the OCGA relating to merit system of personnel administration for county revenue employees and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Retirement recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st. Please give the Senator your attention as he presents the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, to use a phrase that was used by one of our presidents once before, here we are again, or here we go again. This is the third time the Senate has had the opportunity to vote on this bill. It was a idea that I introduced 5 years ago. Our tax commissioners collect approximately 95% of the revenue that they collect for local governments. Your county government, your school system, in some cases they may contract with a municipality to collect the revenue for them, but they collect local revenues. So 5 years ago I introduced this exact same bill. It essentially says that any future tax commissioner would not be eligible to participate in the state retirement plan. They're not state employees, they're local employees, and that's what this bill does. It was passed in March of 2008, 54-1. It passed in February of 2010, 48-2, and I would ask for your support on the legislation today. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any. Surely I didn't say that.
No question, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreeing to report of committee which favor will pass the bill? Chair hears none. The report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the passage of the bill. All of those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 5. This bill having C-Rex Constitution majority is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 21st.
The Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Read the announcements.
Rules is meeting upon adjournment, 4:50 in the Capitol. 12:30, Health and Human Services Subcommittees, mezzanine. 1 p.m., Health and Human Services, 4:50 in the Capitol. 2 p.m., Reapportionment and Redistricting, 307 CLOB. 2 p.m. State Institutions and Property, 310 CLOB. 2 p.m. Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security in the mezzanine. 3 p.m. Natural Resources and the Environment, 450 in the Capitol. 3 p.m. Special Judiciary, 125 in the Capitol. 4 p.m. Judiciary, 450 in the Capitol. 4 p.m. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, 125 in the Capitol.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 25th for an announcement. Please give the Senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, and since we were not in session, we had to relocate the Milledgeville night, but we historically have it about this time of year, and on your desk you'll find some red and white gumballs and an invitation to the Milledgeville night, and I hope you can come and fall in love with Milledgeville once again. It's at the event loft tonight between 5 and 7:30, and for those who attend the event tonight, there will be this artwork that will be available to you. This depicts Central State Hospital, the Powell building. Central State Hospital was created in the 1830s and part of the progressive movement to try to deal with folks who had mental illnesses. Central State Hospital, this particular building, the Powell building, is still in use, but very, very limited use because of the change in mission at Central State Hospital and the change in way that we're dealing with folks that do have a mental illness. But we would love to have you come down and meet folks from Milledgeville and learn more about our community, and let us thank you for the work that you do for the state. Look forward to seeing you tonight.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your desk, you have a product from Chickamauga, Georgia. It's called Old Mill Corn, and I just want you to try it. It's a great product, Georgia made. It's not Georgia grown because Senator from the 10th, 11th, they don't make popcorn in Georgia. They don't grow it readily. Anyway, the normal kind, the regular, got some hot. It'll burn one on you here. And then the ladies, we have chocolate drizzle that is to die for. But anyway, try it. Let me know what you think. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator. That will not impact your cholesterol. I'm confident of it. The majority leaders move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.